Welcome, everyone. This presentation is Canvas for Parents. This is being presented by the Family Partnership Department. And Stephanie, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Stephanie Olson. I am an instructional technology specialist in our district, and I support our secondary schools. I specifically support Cougar Mountain, Maywood, and Liberty, but essentially all secondary, and I'm our Canvas administrator for the district. So I get to work with everybody who uses Canvas.
And we are both teachers on special assignments in our role in the district. So, for our agenda today, we will cover logging into Canvas, navigating Canvas, notifications, messages, and calendar, navigating a course. So, we'll go into a specific course and show how to use it, the module, syllabus, stuff like that. Grades. And then we'll also do a little bit of the Canvas app on your mobile device because a lot of parents really enjoy using or prefer using the mobile Canvas app. And then we're going to do a brief page on family access and also on securely. For many of you who are parents of sixth graders or middle school students, it's a feature that we got sometime last year, and we're just making sure parents know about it and how to use it. And lastly, we recognize that there were many questions that were about I cannot log in. My login for my sixth grade child, I have another child, but for my sixth grade child or a new family to the district, for whatever reason, there is a problem with logging into your Canvas account for parents as an observer. There's an email both in the chat and also on the screen. You'll get it. If you don't have it by the end of the session and you still need it, just email me and I'll send it to you. Please email the EdTech help line and they will try to troubleshoot and problem solve for that aspect with you. We will not be able to solve the logging into your account at today's session. So Canvas for parents or guardians. So the main thing of using Canvas for parents or guardians is for you to read course announcements or get course announcements sent to your email. You also see the course assignment page, so you are aware of what your child is learning in school, what assignments they have, and the due dates and so forth. You can preview course documents, an assignment sheet, a review document, a study guide, stuff like that. And course syllabus. When you went to curriculum night, or if you missed curriculum night, a lot of the teachers are, oh, actually, I should rephrase that. All the teachers are required to publish and show the syllabus for their classes on their Canvas page. So all the teachers have their course syllabus on Canvas so you can better understand the expectations for their classroom, including their grading scale, their grading system, their makeup policy, and such. The Canvas for Parents also provides you a course view of the course calendar, and it allows you to examine your child's grade. You can get a quick sneak preview of all the grades and all their classes, or you can dive deeper. You'll be able to access the students' conversation through course messaging. And the big one is for a quick question for the teacher. And there are pros and cons to using the Canvas inbox, but you can also email and communicate with the teacher within the Canvas app or the Canvas site. What parents cannot do is submit assignments for their child. They cannot read a course discussion. They can't take quizzes. They cannot join a course group, send messages to students, see course roster information, see unpublished published courses. And a biggie actually is look at textbooks or use external tools like Office 365, because those are only things that we as a district pay for student access. And the second one is, as a district, parents getting access to a lot of those things I just mentioned violates a lot of confidentiality and privacy policies for accessing other student information. So parents do not have access to that information and should not use their child's account to do that, to learn what the assignments are and to just kind of keep an eye on their kids' progress. They have their own account, and that's the observer account. Through the Canvas account, You can access the teacher's information, the through Canvas, students can access teacher information, course syllabus, and class expectations, participate in live stream lessons, which now that COVID's done, we really don't do that. If there are any recordings, they could do that. Many teachers don't do that as much anymore. And then locate and access course assignments, big one. Get instructions to complete assignments, big one. And turn in assignments. They can also use a single calendar to look for due dates of all classes. Now, to go to the Canvas site, there's a link. And here's a key one that a lot of people miss. You have to make sure that it says Issaquah. Some people just search on the Google bar Canvas. But the thing is, Canvas is unique for each district, each university. So this is something that we have our own site and it's built for us as a school district. So the Canvas for parents for the Issaquah school district families will say issaqahinstructure.com and log in. So when you go to the Canvas page, please note, and even on the mobile device, please note that it will be, you'll have to choose the Issaquah School District Canvas page. And when you get in there, make sure you click on the parent guardian and don't use the student site because that takes you to a different one. And then people ask, I need my login, or somehow they know their child's login, but then it's messy and against school confidentiality policies. If you're having trouble logging into Canvas, you can use your email to reset the password. Okay, request password, especially if you've never used it before, you're going to start there. Make sure, of course, for troubleshooting that you're on the Canvas site. If you don't get your password, check your junk email. It takes, they say, up to 30 minutes. The other big one that we've noticed, and one of the things we've been troubleshooting, is check family access and make sure you are listed, that your email is in family access. And it doesn't matter if you're listed as family one or family two, but you as a parent need to be listed in family access.
Lorna, can I add
Yeah, of
something right here that's super
course.
important? Um, if you are listed in family access, you have to have a unique email in order to get your own account. If you are using the same email for family member one and family member two, only one of you gets a Canvas account.
If you're sharing the email, that's one thing, but that means you're sharing the same Canvas account also. Another question just asked in chat is the password the family access password? And the answer is no. Even your username is different. So the family access username it's different. It's kind of like your your last name, your first name, and 000 001, stuff like that. For your username for Canvas, it's your email address, and your password you will set. You can do the same password for both accounts, but the username will be different. So just keep that in mind. So again, the username, put your email and first time logging. So if you've never done it, you're going to do first time logging. And then one of the things is I search and then I saved notifications as instructure.com as a safe email. And the great thing about Canvas is once you save this address in your safe sender for your inbox, every single email from Canvas comes to you. So when the teachers send notifications and such, you will get this email sent to you. Okay, you will get the emails and the communications. Okay, so logging into Canvas, save the password on your computer, take a photo of the password just because it really makes a lot of sense. Save that email so that all of your emails come to your inbox and doesn't go into junk mail. And finally, I will admit that there are some issues sometimes with Gmail users, and we have an entire site on Canvas 101 mainly to help Gmail users with accessing because Gmail has strong filters and sometimes it blocks Canvas emails from coming to you. It sees it as junk mail. So there's a question, great question, and it says, sorry. It says, how do I correct wrong information in Family Access? Do I email the tech support for that? And the answer is no. If there's information that is incorrect in Family Access, that email should go to your school's registrar. You can look up your school's registrar, or just call the office and ask to speak to the registrar, or you can go to your school's website under the tab for staff. You can search the registrar and let them know that the information, and you should be calling from a telephone number that's listed in Family Access, or you could email the school registrar with the updated information using an email that is already listed in Family Access as Family One, so they can make these changes because they have to verify that you have permission to change this information. Another question asked is, one second. Okay, so I'm in Family Access. I can also log into Canvas, but there are no courses and the portal is empty. Okay, Stephanie, do you want to address that?
Yeah, so it probably means you have a sixth grader or a new to district student, and we are currently trying to work on our parents' access to Canvas to make it consistent. And as we are working on that, you may not be linked to your student yet. So please use the ISD EdTech help at issaquah.wednet.edu and email that, and we will try to get you connected to your student tomorrow.
Okay. So I am going to hand off to Stephanie, and she will start by going over your dashboard. Many parents asked, how can I see only one child at a time? And actually, in the past year or two, they've made it much easier for us to just look at one child at a time, which I appreciate as one of the updates for Canvas.
As somebody who has multiple children.
Yes. Stephanie,
Yes.
you are able to share your screen as co-host, right?
Yes. Yes. Thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So I am sharing a little bit more about recognizing what it is to navigate your dashboard and what does this all actually mean. So the first thing is once you get logged in successfully to Issaquah, you'll always notice that we have our icon in the upper left-hand corner here. So you'll know you're in the right version of Canvas. If you don't see that icon, it means that you've probably logged into the wrong Canvas and it will look blank to you. So you do want to make sure that you have logged into our version. If you have multiple students in the district, you are going to be able to see that in a drop-down menu up here in the top right-hand corner. When it asks you about adding a student, it asks you for a pairing code. We don't do pairing codes in Issaquah. We make sure that every student the adult who has access to their information is coming from Skyward. So we automatically do that for you. So you wouldn't need to have a pairing code. If you want to toggle between your students, you go ahead and use that drop-down menu. And you'll notice when I go into William, he has a lot less classes. And when I toggle back to Thomas, he has several more. To give you a little bit of an overview of the desktop, you have a lot of options of what you could do here. So you can actually drag and drop courses. So you just grab the tile and you just drag it and drop it. You can actually use the three dots in the upper right-hand corner and you can nickname courses. So if you don't want to have the actual name of the course, you can just rename it. And when you do that, that is just on your side. And to be aware your students can do this too, it's a good thing to look over their shoulder and kind of see what they've named their courses, because sometimes they choose probably not the best names, and teachers can actually see that in class and see what the students have said. So do make sure that you check that. You can also change the colors of the courses. Now, Lorna is referencing back in the day when you used to see all your kids on one screen. My recommendation was to actually color code them. You can still do that because when we get to the calendar in a few minutes, I'm going to show you how the fact that whatever colors you have here coordinate with what you see on your calendar. So in this case, I might choose Thomas's colors to be in the red family. So I might choose a color that's kind of in the red or the pinks family. And then when I do that, you can see that the name of the course is kind of changed to go along with that. There's a few other things you can do from the dashboard. Over here, you can use the three dots and you can actually change the different views. If you want to have the color overlay on so that the whole course changes colors, you can do that. You can also choose to do list view, and you'll notice the list view changes the overall view. Your student might actually choose to do this as well. So it's important to recognize that your view and your student's view might look a little bit different. One of the perks of doing the list view is that you get the notifications in here in the upper right-hand corner. And when you click on that notifications icon, you'll see if students have missing work. So it brings it up right to the top so that you can see those. Going back to the three dots, you can also choose to do recent activity. Recent activity is more about what's upcoming, things that you need to be aware of. No matter what view you have kind of that to-do list and recent activity, and you have an ability to get to grades. The way you get to grades is a little bit different from each of those views. So I'm in the recent activity view, and I have view grades down here in the bottom right. If I were going to go back to the card view list, you can see I have my to-do list, my recent views, and my view grades in the bottom right again. And then if I were in the list view, you'll notice that it looks a little bit different. And it's actually this gradebook icon. And I know it's the gradebook icon because it has what looks like a little book with a check mark on it. And that is actually my ability to now look at grades. Pros and cons to all of these different views. I'm going to go ahead and pop back to the default view, which is actually the card view. And I'm going to go ahead and go into grades from here because I do want to talk about it just really quickly. You'll notice that I have the grades for both of my students here. And so that is one thing to be aware of, is that when you go from the card view and you pop into grades, you are going to see all of the grades for your students. So it's kind of like you have to pick one of them and then you can go into more detail. But we're going to go into grades in just a couple more minutes. So I'll go into that in just a second. Lorna, are there any questions about kind
There
of?
is. So couple parents can access their child's Canvas, or can access their parent observer Canvas account. However, the question is, my dashboard is empty and the student's name is not even included.
That means that you haven't been paired to your student. So you need to email the ISD Ed Tech Help Desk because you need to get paired. So that means that your student's probably a sixth grader or new to district.
So then for you, the person working on the help desk will not be until tomorrow. So I'm
Right.
going to put in the email again for everyone. So again, if you are able to access your parent observer account, but your child's not attached to you because another parent asked, is there another step or is it automatic? And the answer is it should be automatic. And if it's not, then email the ISD EdTech help.
Yeah.
Uh,
I don't want to bore people with all the things that are in the background, but it has to do with the naming conventions when we switched to cumulative last year
So,
versus
Stephanie,
average.
what about if they can see their child, but they don't see any courses or assignments?
If you see your student's name up here in the top right-hand corner and your student has no classes, there's a couple of things that you might want to double check. The first is to pop over here to courses and make sure you look at all courses. And if you're starring courses over here on the side, that means you're only going to see the current courses that you have starred. So you can unstar them and then you will see any course that's actually relevant. So if I pop to the dashboard now, I'll actually probably see a few extra classes. So you can see I actually have 9, 12, 3, 6, 9, 12, 12 classes versus the 6 that I saw before. So that's one thing. And that is something important to recognize to help your student as well. That they sometimes go in here and go to courses, they go to all courses, and then they star their favorite courses. And then that's the only ones that they actually then see. So I can kind of work backwards here. And I'm just going to choose 3 so we can see this. And then I pop back to dashboard. And now I only see those 3 courses.
Okay, and
Any
that's
other?
the last question, so we can move on.
Okay. So if I remember correctly, I'm going to just pop over here really quickly. So we did the dashboard
We're
and we
on
talked
slide
to,
12.
yeah. So we did the dashboard. So organizing your dashboard so you can drag and drop, you can color code, you can rename everything, and you can drop down menu to get to your student there and go back and forth between your kiddos. Um, Notifications is the other thing that's like super important to recognize. And you can do notifications by course or you can do it in general. So we're kind of working through this kind of outside navigation bar over here, which is called our global navigation. I'm going to go ahead and click on my account up here in the upper left-hand corner. And then when I go to notifications, that's where I can manage my notifications. And this is really important because Canvas kind of does a default of notifications for you, kind of assumes what you would like to know and what you would like to see. And it's kind of important to know that you may not want to see all of those things. So the first thing is the fact that you have settings for the account, but you can also choose by class. I recommend just doing account, but you could change that if you would like. You could choose to show the name of the observed students in notifications. So if you have more than one student. Over here, you can actually, and I'll show you in just a second under settings where you can add additional emails, but you can have emails and phone numbers. And then you can choose what you would like to see for each of them. So in this case, you have the due date. And if I hover over this, you'll see that it says weekly summary. If I click on it, I have a couple of different options. I can have notify immediately, daily summary, weekly summary, or turn the notifications off. I recommend for most of these daily summary. And and I'll talk about a couple that I think should be notified immediately. But for the most part, you could probably default to daily summary. So when you look up here, it tells you that daily notifications are delivered around 6 p.m. Weekly notifications are delivered Fridays between 8 and 10 p.m. So you'll know when you can anticipate getting those. And Lorna has a really great view in here of what that
You will, yeah.
email
When we
looks like.
send it to you, it's also when we show you slide 14, how to set up your notifications, you can either take a screenshot or if you get the email, you can see it because it is overwhelming to get too many emails, and parents have often complained to me that they are annoyed and getting tired of the number of emails they get. So please choose carefully. As a sixth grade parent, some of you may want a lot of notifications because you're just wondering what's going on. But honestly, we recommend just a daily summary that'll come at 6 o'clock. So, because each time the teacher creates this assignment, you don't want to get an email about that. That's not valuable. Each time a teacher grades an assignment, you don't really want to get it at that time because that's a lot of notifications because you have your child has six teachers, and so every time they grade an assignment you're going to get an email about it. So I personally, as a parent of two children, I love my 6 o'clock email. So when I get it, I just scroll down, see what the kids have done. Is there any zeros, is there any low grade that I should be concerned about, so I can have a conversation with them. But otherwise, I just get that one email with all this information in one place. And we'll talk more about calendars. There's a question on that shortly. But the slide that Stephanie is showing, it's a great one. And if you want to just go scroll down, yeah, there, and just take a photo so that you can see what to set your notifications at. Stephanie, can you do me a favor and kind of talk a little bit about course content, the difference between announcements versus some of the other ones? Because I know even for me as a staff member, I wasn't
Mhm.
sure what the differences were, and I wasn't sure if I should or should not turn them on. So then this way it'll give you a better idea if you should like what your preferences, because this is
Yeah.
what we're suggesting, but each parent has their own preferences.
No, that's a great question, actually, because there is a difference between announcements and what we call on our end global announcements. And an announcement will be a class-based announcement, and global announcements are ones that are coming more from the district or school level. I would deem the ones that are coming from the district or school level probably to be things that you'll want immediately because they're things that you need to be notified of right away. Versus a class announcement might be, please remember that we have a test tomorrow. So those announcements might be a little bit different. It is up to you ultimately on how you would like to handle that. But here under course activities, you have announcement. So that is a course level announcement, you might just get a daily summary about that. That is where I would suggest grades to be a daily summary. And the reason why I recommend that is sometimes teachers also like they have situations where they set a time for class for an assignment to be due and it auto grades for them if it's an online assignment type. And then they actually go in and actually grade the assignment. And so the score changes between, you know, 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock. Well, if you get the daily summary, you're going to just see the fact that the grade was what it is at 3 o'clock with maybe some information versus getting notified every time that happens. So I would recommend grading daily summary. Invitations you can turn to immediately. Not a lot of teachers use that, but it's important if they were. You might do late grading and submission comments to be daily summary. It's really nice because it compiles it all in one email for you. So you can just look through the one email at the end of the day. You will probably, and I'm almost positive, not be invited to discussions because we have that turned off for our observers. So that is really a student-based one. This is one I like to talk about, which is conversations. It's kind of deceptive because the word conversations doesn't really link to it, but this is the inbox. So when you are having inbox messaging between the teacher and yourself, that's a conversation. And a lot of our teachers like to send messages through the inbox because they can easily send it to a particular student and then attach their observers. So they will send them to you. Essentially, this is email. So I would make sure that that one's set to immediately notify, which is the little bell. So you'll want to make sure that it is set to that.
And that's a
Scheduling,
good one if you, as a parent, are using it to communicate with a teacher, or if you have worked with your child and kind of asked your child to ask the teacher the question, because that's one of the things we'll give you a tip about later. So if your child is communicating with the teacher and then if the teacher is responding, including you, then you will get the notification that the and be added to it.
and the notification will come here in the inbox as like a little like tag over here. So it would become 123. It also goes directly to your email. So that's what these notifications are doing is they're going to the preferred email that you have inside Canvas. And if you have multiple, it will go to both. So you can actually reply directly to the conversation from your personal email and it will go directly to the teacher's email as well. So the teachers have it set up that way. So you don't have to feel like when you get a conversation message, you have to log into Canvas to respond to it. You can do that from your email. Scheduling is for appointments. We don't really use these very much in our system, but having notifications on just in case, I feel like that's something your teacher should share with you at back to school night if that's something that they're using or they should notify you. Groups, that's if your student is accepted into a group, you will not be invited to groups because that's something that only your students can be a part of, which is this conferences would be more about along the lines of setting up a recording, which you won't really need to worry about. This is the one that I recommend that you have probably set to notify immediately. So this is when administrative notifications. So if something administrative, you won't get those ones, but you'll get the global announcements down here. So the global announcements are those institution-wide announcements. So I would make those ones notify immediately. You won't get anything about this one per se unless your account's immediately created. So you might want to have that one on just in case, but this is the one, global announcements right here. So the global announcements are the ones that I usually create and I send those out either as a district level or a school level versus the announcements that appear, which were course level announcements. So when I go to course activities, those announcements were created by the teacher. And so those are course level. So
And
it's up to you.
And what we can do is tomorrow morning, I'm going to have Stephanie do a screenshot of all of the announcements and we'll update our page because this is newer than the slide I have.
Mhm.
And so this way, personally, I keep it so that I get most of it daily announcements and just certain ones that you mentioned as immediate. Also, somebody asked, how do you select the summary notification? And Stephanie, can you identify the icon that is summary for the 6 o'clock? You can also see it on
Yeah.
the.
So summaries, daily summary. So when I hover over this and I click it, I have notify immediately, so you will get that immediately. Daily summary comes at 6 every day. Weekly summary comes between 8 and 10 on Friday. Notifications off. A lot of these you're not going to get anyways because they are course level and you have to be a member of the course. But the ones that you do get, I do recommend most are daily summary. And then a couple of those that I mentioned to be immediate are conversations. So conversations and then global announcements. Any other questions about notifications?
Okay, I think we're good to go to the next one.
Right. So while we're sitting here under account, I just want to talk a little bit about what else is under here. You have your profile option, which is honestly a place mostly for your students and teachers to communicate about who they are. You also have settings under here. This is where you can actually add additional email addresses. And the star indicates one that you've chosen to be your default email address. So you can always do that. I do like to always point out, because this is something that you might want to help your students with, but I'm under the settings. And if I scroll down, I have the option down below, on the student side, at least for sure, to choose high contrast UI right here. And if I do that, it changes the way my whole canvas kind of like portrays. This is really helpful for students who have a hard time with visibility. And then you also have under here is dyslexia friendly font. And those are kind of things that you might want to encourage your student if you know those are things that they might need to come and check out. So those are again under account and then settings. I personally have mine set to high contrast UI because it keeps it very like consistent throughout Canvas when you are switching from place to place.
In this section also, you're going to see the language function where you can choose uh, the language you want for your child. I'm sorry, for you to see your information
Yes.
shared.
So from edit right there, you can choose right here, you can choose your pronouns and your language. So what this does if you choose your language here, so I'll just choose Spanish for now and update, it changes all of the outside navigation to the language and anything that's inherited from Canvas. It will not change the language to Spanish for any of the content that teachers are giving, just to be clear. But it does make the navigation change across Canvas so that it's a little bit easier to navigate.
Stephanie, we have a great question in the chat, and the question is there an option where I can get all my conversations only to my Canvas inbox and not my Gmail account?
Yes, of course. So going back to those notification settings, that was conversations right here, added to a conversation, and you would want to turn those off to no notifications.
And the person asking this question and everyone else, keep in mind that if you use the mobile app, you're going to see a little number on you can go in and you can read all your inbox messages on your Canvas app. So that is another way to kind of go around not being able to get, if you're not interested in the emails, where to me, Canvas is something that you either set up so that you can go into a Canvas account to check yourself, or you can have it come and work for you and send it to you directly. So some
Yeah.
people prefer, I know for the notifications, I actually prefer getting the emails because I'm always worried that I'll miss some important things. But I know for some people, they just prefer having to go into the Canvas app and reading any notifications they might have received.
My recommendation is to always have conversations turned on to at least daily notification. I personally prefer immediate because to me, that's where teachers are actually trying to contact you. But if you check your app or you have your app notifications turned on in a way that works better for you, you would want to choose between maybe those two options. And the app is definitely different than the website.
Yes, the slide deck is going to be shared as well as the recording. Just complete the feedback form. I'll put it in again and we'll for you. Stephanie, can
While
I
I'm,
ask?
go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say, here's actually where you find the QR for mobile login, which is actually the easiest way to log into the mobile app is to come in here and you generate a QR code for the login and you proceed, and then it goes through the process of creating this QR code. Don't scan that one. That one's specific for this particular account, but you could do that with yours as well. So you'd want to be on kind of a device and then you could scan in and get in pretty easily.
And people were asking me in the registration form if you needed a QR code for your from your child. That's not the case. So the QR code for the student to be able to access their Canvas on their mobile device, they can scan the QR for mobile device. But for a parent, you're not scanning the child to get them on your account. Right now, if it's not automatically on your account, it is a tech issue that you need to email the ISD tech help people. You're not going to ask your child to share their QR code to get it. That won't work. But the
No, we
question
have
that
that actually turned off.
yeah, the question that I was actually asked was, how does my child get the iOS? How do they pair? Let me read the question carefully. And the answer was, yeah, how do I give access to my student to an iOS Canvas app?
So I'm going to actually show you guys all right now. So again, kind of talking about this outside navigation right here under help is the Canvas guides, which are super useful. They have lots of videos, lots of things, and some of them translate into Spanish, I believe. And so you could always check those. But we also have down here our 101 for parents and guardians. And then we also have the same 101 for our students. And both of those have options for you to find out about how to get started with Canvas. And so when you click on getting started with Canvas, it has information about getting to the apps. And so how do you get into it? So it has logging in with Canvas app or QR code. And so that goes kind of through downloading it on an iOS device versus downloading it on a I want to say Google, but I know it's not Google. An alternative device, which I have found out it's really important as a parent when I was helping at Maywood last week, that if you have both the student and the parent downloaded, it will always default to logging you in on the student device. So you want to delete the student red icon and only have the parent blue icon so that you only get logged in as a parent. So there are directions here if you would like them. So that's the student, and then the parent is actually a blue icon.
Stephanie, the slide 16 that shows the emails that you get, I think that's a great email slide to remind parents about. You
Yes.
had mentioned it earlier, but I just want to spend a few minutes on that slide, or a minute or two, because you can see that around 6 o'clock, little after 6 o'clock, you get a recent Canvas notification, and that's just your daily summary. In my bigger email, you can see I did not, at that time, I did not have my child's grade shared in the email, but since then, I turned on show the child's grade when the email comes. And so my child's grades were viewable and visible in a quick email in the evening every day. Now, in this email, you can see that a teacher emailed in the morning and said, hey, you need to do blah, blah, blah. And it's really the email to the student. But as a parent, sometimes I like to get that email just so that I can make sure I've read it and say, hey, your teacher emailed, because sometimes kids are not paying attention to this, especially younger kids. And so you just, quickly say, hey, your teacher is asking for this, just heads up. So this way, if a teacher is sending an information to the kid, and that's usually what that announcement is. For example, the teacher might send an announcement saying, remember you have a test in 2 days, be sure to use a study guide, and and then you as a parent have visibility in what that teacher said to all the kids. And then you can have a conversation with your child as you're preparing for that test, that project, making sure they read that book, whatever it is that the teacher found that it was important, they send a class-wide announcement to the students.
So going back into the notifications, so that was under account notifications. Again, for the due dates, you turn this on, include the score. And so that would include the score. So that was what Lorna was just sharing, is that the first time she did it, she didn't have that checked, and then she did, and then you actually saw the score in the email. And then up here you can change. So say, for example, your student struggles a little bit more in English or in math, you could set the notifications for that particular course to be a little bit more stringent, where you get notify me immediately about anything that's happening in that class. And then it will just apply to that particular course. Any other questions about settings or notifications?
I think we're good for now.
Good. Okay, so I'm going to pop over back to the dashboard. So I had turned on my dashboard to do color overlay. So you can see this one's red, this one's green, this one's purple. And I'm actually now going to pop over into calendar. So again, on my global navigation, and my calendar is where I can find upcoming assignments, what's happening in a particular class, and it all depends on what I have selected over here on the side. Every person who has a Canvas account has their own personal calendar within Canvas. So that's that top level one. You can choose up to 11 calendars to show within Canvas. And you just do that by selecting the different ones, and you can just like click on them if you want them to show. And as you select them, it will kind of toggle them on or off. And you can see over here on the side, I have a couple of classes that have some things coming up. And then I have some classes that have really not a whole lot going on. This is a month view, which is the default view. And a lot of kids might want to choose week. And you'll notice, like when I do week, there's not a lot of stuff showing here because it all defaults to be at the end of the month or end of the day. So if I kind of like start to scroll down, I might just start to see things that are due at 11:59 p.m. because that's the default time in Canvas. And so it's not the best view to look at things this particular way. Your other option is to look at an agenda view, which would kind of tell you what's coming up. And it just helps you kind of keep track of what is happening in particular classes at a particular time.
Stephanie, I'm going to interrupt and say two things. A parent said, is there a place where you can see all assignments for a week? So I think what you showed is great, but I don't think the week view is good. Personally, as a parent, I prefer the agenda or the month view, just because in the week view, everything is on the bottom. I also want
Yeah.
to address why everything is at the bottom. Many parents that I've spoken with get frustrated and annoyed that we have assignments due at 11:59 p.m. And that is not purposeful. The teacher is not expecting your child to stay up till midnight to turn in assignments. It's just a default thing. And especially for some students, high school students, they just are night owls and that's what they do. But honestly, most kids are doing it during the school day, right after school. And it's just they have up to that time. So
Yes.
no, don't think that that is the expectation. It's just the default setting.
A lot of times too, a teacher will assign something in class and then it becomes homework and they just give them to the end of the day to turn it in. And it's easiest just to keep it at the default time of 11:59. I can speak for Issaquah High that they changed their default time to 9 o'clock, but a lot of teachers actually chose to keep it at 11:59 because they want to give kids the most opportunity to turn something in on that day on time. So it's never from a negative of thinking about your students staying up too late. It's always in the positive of thinking about the fact of giving them the most time possible. So always consider it that. The other thing you can do with the calendar is you can actually grab this calendar feed right here and you can copy and paste this into any of your own calendars. I wouldn't recommend this necessarily as a parent, but this might be something that you teach your student to do, especially if your student's really busy and does keep a digital calendar. I think about this a lot. Like my son, he just graduated last year, but he had lacrosse practice. And if you had a student who's doing music lessons or have different sports, they might want to put this calendar into their personal calendar so they can start to keep track of different due dates. It's also possible for students and yourself to come in here and add additional items so they can create events. And so for a student who maybe knows they have something going on at a particular time, they might want to add that particular event in here and make sure it doesn't line up with anything else that's happening at school.
Stephanie, can you show again how do I start seeing one child or the other child's calendar? Like I
So
have a
this
high
one is,
schooler.
yeah,
Mhm.
this one is not as easy. So this is where that color coding came in. So back on the dashboard, when I was talking about possibly color coding my students so that one student has all kind of like the similar colors. So this is what I used to do with my boys, and I had two, and then this one I would make all kind of blues. And the reason why is because then when you go into the calendar view, it helps in looking at which calendars you're looking at because of the fact that it blends them all together. You can choose particular candles over calendars over here, but other than that, you're actually looking at the same calendars no matter what. And so you would want to make sure that you are kind of keeping track. And so I like to do the color coding. None of the blue classes have any assignments upcoming right now, but if they did, you would see those in blue versus the red. So it would just make it a little bit easier to visualize. That's my sneak
Thank
peek.
you.
Mhm.
Because we had one question saying how to separate the two kids' agenda view. How about the agenda view? Can you
Yeah,
separate
it
that?
doesn't matter because it still color coordinates. So you would see red versus blue over here if it was the different ones.
So
And then,
separating the two kids' agenda views just by color coding and
yeah,
how to
you can
show
just
more than one
unselect
kid's calendar is it automatically shows you multiple children's calendar, but the limitation is it can only show you 10
11,
items, 11, sorry, 11 items at a time.
11, yeah, 11 calendars at a
Class.
time. Yeah. And then there are school-based calendars. So if you wanted to have school-based things showing, you would have to select those as well, which different schools use them. It's only our high schools that are set up to use them, but they might set up days like end of term and things like that. And I don't think they have this year so far.
So a parent is asking, is there any way to show multiple courses calendars in a page? And this is exactly what Stephanie is saying. You can see 11 courses on one page. So
Mhm.
personally, as a parent who has a child that's taking 7 in one school and 6 in another, I have 13 classes. And so I usually focus on 10 or 11 of the classes. And it's usually like PE class or orchestra class that I don't show that I'm not too worried or the ASP class or something. But so
Yeah.
consider what are the most important ones, but every now and then turn on the calendar for the classes that are not easily visible, just so that you're not missing anything.
And when you're in the dashboard, you can always see grades from here in the to-do list. So I'm on Williams. So let's go to Thomas really quickly. Thomas has a lot more stuff happening. And when you go into view grades, so we're kind of skipping ahead here a little bit, you can always go into the view grades of a class. And when you look in the actual class is when you'll see particular assignments. So you can always pop in here and see exactly what's happening in a particular class. So I'm going to go back out to the dashboard and do that one more time with y'all. So I'm on the dashboard. I have my view grades. I see all of my kids. So I'm actually going to go into Thomas's because he has a little bit more to show here because we're going a little slower today than we have in the past. So I'm gonna show grades. Um, so I'm in a course now and I'm seeing the grades. And now I can see what my student has. So this class's grades, things that they have missing, when something was submitted, when something is due. I can see all the notifications, if there's comments or if there's a rubric of feedback. I can see their total grade at the bottom. Um, this is where you're going to want to get actual course information. And just to clarify that the app will send you information as well. So will the email. But no matter what, if you want more information about any of this, you actually have to log in to get to it. So if you want to see like course comments about an assignment, you will have to log in to see the course comments.
Stephanie, while we're in grades, why don't we go ahead and do the grades slides? So as Stephanie said, there are two ways to see grades. One, you can see a peek of all of the grades of your child in one snapshot, or two, you can go and see detailed views that she just showed you on how that child was doing in ELA. So let's talk about those two ways a little bit.
Yeah. So kind of going backwards here. Grades in Canvas, middle school have 3 trimesters, high school have 2 with 2 quarter grading periods. And it's important to recognize the fact that we have tried to make this perfect, but there's not a way to make it perfect. But to see second quarter grades and fourth quarter grades, you do need to make sure you're on the actual all grading periods because we don't wait by grading periods. And we'll send reminders about that at the time. You can click on all view grades from the dashboard and it will take you to all the assignment grades for your student. And by clicking on any of those courses, you would go into more details. You do get to see missing assignments, late assignments, scores, total grades, if there's weighted groups or grading categories, and feedback. So this is some of the icons that are used in Canvas, and it's kind of important to talk about those icons because you want to know what they mean. We have different ways of creating. There's some that are inherited from Canvas, like late and missing, and then we've created some ourselves, like on paper. That little icon right here that looks like a little airplane, that's actually quiz, and that means that the student hasn't completed the quiz, so it hasn't auto-graded yet. Excused will show up as an EX right here. The score will always show out of the number. It will always tell you the due date and the time, and then when it was actually submitted. So in this case, you can see it was due September 16th and was submitted September 18th. That's why it got the late mark. The little icons, the little blue dots means that it's unread, meaning that you haven't looked at that yet. And that one right here with the little check marks and the clipboard is the rubric. And the little speak bubbles are the feedback. So you can kind of see the difference between those things. This one's kind of important to look at here, this little red box, because that is telling you that that student had copy leaks attached to it. And copy leaks is our plagiarism and AI detection. And when you see that little red box, that is just the plagiarism detection. You can actually click it open, and then it will also tell you what your student scored on AI as well. So if your teacher is telling you that your student used 100% AI to create the assignment, you would actually find that information by clicking that. Or if they said that your student used 100% plagiarism, you could click that and you would see the information. So that's what those little icons do mean. And then the dash right there means that it hasn't been graded yet.
There are a couple of things I just want to mention. So some teachers, they don't give zeros. So the assignment may say missing or it may not say missing. So you need to make sure you're aware of the syllabus. But I know that my sixth grade child has at least one teacher that is not giving zeros. And in their syllabus, they said, I don't give zeros and I give 50% for any missing assignments. So in working with the parent once and helping them understand their grades, they were mentioning that their child hadn't really gotten any zeros, but the child was doing poorly. And the answer was it's because nearly all of the assignments were missing, and the assignments they did do were not being done well, probably because they hadn't been doing their homework or submitting other ones. So make sure you kind of are checking to see is the teacher, because it's for some teachers, they understand the impact of a zero and how it's nearly impossible to recover from too many zeros. So they just give the 50% because that's a little bit more accessible to recover from. So keep that in mind. Sometimes the excused, by the way, means that it has no impact on your grade. So it's not negatively impacting the grade. The zero, of course, will impact the grade. Stephanie, a parent, noticed that one of the assignments was worth 0 points. How often do you see teachers do that?
Quite often, actually. And it might not even be worth 0 points. Sometimes teachers put things in 0% categories, or they have an option to mark something as not counting towards grade book. And that happens a lot, especially at the beginning of a semester where they're just trying to get information about what the students already know before they teach and then reassess. So don't be surprised if you see something that actually doesn't count towards your student's grade. That's an option as well.
And Stephanie, can you do me a favor? Can you show again how to see grades for just one child at a time?
Yes, so if I go back to the dashboard, which is always the easiest way, and I do view grades, and I have all my kiddo classes, and then I decide I'm gonna go look at a particular class. So in this case, I'm gonna go look at, we'll find it here, and it's just a sample course for, where did it go? Why are my eyes tired right now? Did somebody change it? Okay, there we go. Drop to the bottom. Don't know why. Here we go. And so I can see there's the grade total. Here's the different categories. And then here are the different grades that my student has in this particular course. And I can see a couple of assignments. So as Lorna was saying, this one says it has a grade, but it's still marked missing. That's either the teacher has now graded it or it's still missing or they forgot to change that. You can click on any of these and see information. So if I were to open this one and I click the assignment open, I can actually see what the rubric feedback was from my student and the commentary. So you do have the option to open an assignment and then I can see the score. You can always pop back over here to grades again. And then you can click on anything else. So over here, this is that copy leaks assignment. So if I open it, you'll notice that it opens in a completely different screen and I can see that my student had a lot of copied stuff and this was on purpose. I did it on purpose. And they have AI content and you can read any information about where they got information from over here. So that's kind of above and beyond kind of the base level of stuff, but it's important to know those things are definitely there for you to look at.
So
Oh,
Stephanie,
here's a
couple
good
questions.
one. This one,
Go.
see, assignment does not count toward gradebook. So there's that little exclamation point.
Do most teachers make comments when they do 0 out of 0 or zeros? Assignment
Um,
points?
I would say 50-50. I think a lot of teachers, when they're giving a 0 to a student, they're letting the student know through communication that it wasn't turned in. And so you might find something that, like you need to resubmit. This was not done well or something. So there's an example of please redo. And teachers can even send it back to get redone. So just knowing that you can read those comments is pretty important. And more important than that is teaching your students to also read the comments.
So parents, I'm going to say that that's definitely one of the feedbacks I get from teachers. They get frustrated sometimes that they take time to make comments to help, because that's honestly their primary way of communicating with students and also with parents. And so they can tell when a child has not read the comments, and that's one of the things they've commented that they take the time to put comments for certain things, and the kids are not taking time to read it and understand why or so just kind of encourage your child when they're looking at their grades to click on the comments and look and see what they've received and why, understanding that why. A parent did ask if they can see all grades for all classes, for a parent to see all grades from all classes at the same time. And the answer would be no, because you're really going like for that detail, you have to go into your dashboard for the course.
You can see all the grades from view grades. And if you have one student, you would only see one student's grades. It just depends on how many students you have. So in this case, you can see that I can see both of my kids' grades through here. You would then be able to kind of pick it out to which ones. And you wouldn't see this many classes. These are our test students, so they're in a million classes.
Yeah, and you can see the grade, the current final grade at that time, but you're not going to see the details. So you can see a summary, which I love this little summary. So then you can pick, let's say, algebra is the one I want to look into, because why are they getting a 73.68 in that class? What can they do to improve? So then you can choose based on the score, especially if you're busy and you don't have time to go through every single class and every single grade. But more importantly, how do we teach our children how to do that and read the feedback?
And you can always toggle between classes right here as well. So you can always just choose different classes right from here and just apply it and it will show you the next class too. So once you're in on a particular student, you can just go from class to class as well and
Stephanie,
toggle between students. Mhm.
can you show this? I see the syllabus link. Can you show the syllabus? Because we mentioned that teachers are required to have the syllabus so they can talk about, as a
Yeah,
assignment.
let me go to a different class though, because I can only guarantee. So different syllabuses might be in here differently. So this one, this is where the teacher is letting the course summary. So anything that happens in the course, but they should have a course syllabus set up over here as well. And apparently I didn't put it into mine. So let's see if anyone else did it into theirs. It should be a written syllabus, much like this. Yeah, here we go. And so it should have information about what's happening in the course. It has a description. It should have grading information, what they do about late work, redos and policies, their grading scheme about what they do, how to access anything. And so everyone should have something available. And they are all working together as content teams to kind of put those together. So they should be fairly similar from like sixth grade algebra or sixth grades, math one should all be very similar, versus, algebra one for ninth grade should all be pretty similar.
So if you ever have are confused, let's say your child is missing a grade or your child's test score is lower than you or they would like, you can go to the syllabus and look and see what is the late work policy, what is the retake policy, what is the redo policy, and that'll help you. I mean, you can also easily send a message to your teacher. Your child can, or you can just say, "Hey, I'm trying to support my child." But that's one of the ways to kind of delve more by looking at their grade. Because I've found that sometimes parents don't know that their children can redo tests or turn in assignments in late. And so just know that really a point here is to encourage the child's learning. And so we do offer a lot of retake and redo for tests opportunities. And the best way to find out what the policy is by looking at the teacher's syllabus. So the syllabus is actually definitely an important thing that parents should be all familiar with. Stephanie,
Yes,
before we
yes,
move to
teachers.
the mobile app, can you go to inbox?
Yes. So here's the inbox. So we were kind of working on the outside over here. Inbox is essentially the same as an email system, just so you know, but it's a little bit light as far as email systems go. So you would compose an email and then you would just choose the class that your student is a part of. And then you can select teachers who are a part of the class. You can select your student who's a part of the class. So if I go back here, I can do student. You will only see your student who is in that course. You won't see any other students. And if I were to look at observers, I would just be able to see myself. And then you can function just like any other email. You would want to add a subject and then your information. You can attach a document and you can even do an audio or video recording, and then you would press send. They all do give you notifications right here within Canvas of things that are sent. You can also monitor anything that you have as far as up here, as far as all courses. You can sort by course. You can also archive or delete things. So if you decide that you don't need to have anything anymore, so in this one, it looks like one from a long time ago, I can delete it. Delete is delete forever and ever. You can archive and then it will just go into your archive where you can get it back. And for the most part, it again, it's just functioning like a normal email system. I mostly personally have always functioned out of my email and never check my inbox, but teachers do kind of fluctuate between the two of them. And students by far use their inbox over their email system.
So my tip for you as parents, especially if you have a sixth grade parent, is teach your child how to send an email. So if you're in their inbox, so if you're having a discussion and your child is, oh, I don't know how to do this assignment, oh, I don't know how to ask my teacher for help, or oh, I missed this assignment and I don't think I can turn it in late. That is a conversation, and then that is a teaching opportunity for you as a parent to sit with them in their Canvas account and show them how to start an email. Because I know that when my child and children were in sixth grade, I had to kind of coach them because many kids don't know how to write an email to a teacher, writing the whole sentence and asking what the question, like, what is the problem? and what is
Not
your
putting
responsibility?
everything into the title.
Yes. And so, how do you do it? And so, that kind of is one of the key ways you can work with your child and show them how to send the email. And then they could potentially include you in the email. And then, when you get the inbox coaching, how to respond and what does this mean? Because ultimately, especially by the time your children are in high school, they will be emailing and sending information to the teacher like there's no tomorrow. But that really, that teaching comes in middle school because that's what we do, right? We teach our kids in middle school on what their behavior should look like in high school and how they can self advocate for needs they may have in the class.
And they can even do the signature in here, just like they would in Outlook, which we're not going to get into tonight, but they can definitely set a signature in Canvas as well. And then that way it comes through anytime they create a message, it would just automatically attach to it.
So someone's asking me this question that I really wish there was yes, but I've been told no many times. So I'm glad she's asking. I'll ask again. Is there a possibility to delete emails or inboxes in bulk? Because this person has over 100. I have 99. So how do I get rid of all of them?
Like that. Then you
But
do
we have
that
to
a
do
couple.
it. Okay. So you
So
go
I
into your
will
inbox.
explain what I did.
Uh-huh.
So let's see if I go back and I refresh it, we'll undo. Okay. I clicked one and then I scrolled until the very bottom. And then I hold shift and I click again and it selects all. Now I can delete and it will delete all of those in one swoop. I don't want to do it because I keep these in here for a particular reason for me to show these things. I only have a handful, but essentially you just have to hold the shift, or if you're on a Mac, I think instead of holding shift, you might hold like control. Um, but you're essentially selecting a whole bunch in one swoop and then you can delete or archive all at the same time.
Stephanie, a parent is saying that when they go to their inbox too, it does not show a teacher's name in it. Can you demo again in an inbox? When does it not show a teacher's name and
Well,
when it
it's
does?
probably not showing a teacher's name if you're not attached to a student right now. So if you are going into your dashboard and you see no classes up here and you're not attached to your student, when you go into the inbox, you also are not going to see anything. If they can confirm that for me, because you have to choose a particular class and then you can choose. And you have to
When they
click.
confirm, I'll let you know. But in the meanwhile, should we move on to Canvas mobile app?
Yes, let's do that. So that is mostly slides because it's really hard to replicate. So I'll just open the slides here. So as I was mentioning earlier, the easiest way to log in is actually using the QR code. So that means you have a computer and you have used that, gone to the settings, and you've uh, like had it create the QR code for you, and you just scan it. If you don't have the QR code, because say, for example, you're only on your phone, so you don't have a computer, you would want to make sure that you're finding a school. But when you find school, you're just looking for Issaquah School District. We are not school specific, we are a district. So you would just look for the district. Otherwise, you would click that QR code to log in.
Okay, and the next slide will give you step by step. Going to the App Store, then you're looking for the blue Canvas icon. Okay, make sure you're looking for the blue one because that's Canvas parents. I have many parents who use the red one. And
Yep.
then you're going to click on Find School, type in Issaquah School District. And then once you type on Issaquah School District, you're going to get the username and password. And if the very first time you're logging into Canvas is on your phone, you're going to start with forget password, and then you're going to reset password, and you are going to look for an email sent to your email account, and then use and set your password. And again, it's chances that's going into junk. So look for that instructure.com. Okay. Instructure.com is the from person.
And if you're on an Android, it's really important that you only log into the blue one and only download the blue one. It will default to the red student one otherwise.
I personally love my Canvas app just because I can quickly go in there after I've gotten my email just to see if there's, especially when my kids went middle school, because under the calendar section, you can see a quick glance for due day that day in the calendar feature. You can see some information. Also, the first thing you pretty much see is all the summary of all the grades from all their classes. And then you can toggle in the section that is kind of whatever this ugly color, oh, sorry, whatever this um, kind of ceramic kind of color is. And you can change your child's name over here. Okay, so you can toggle between your two children and then quickly see all the grades from that class in that view, and then switch to your other child, and then however many children you might have, and do
And
that.
if you open something from the app, it will actually launch you into a more of a web version of it from your phone. And then you can have more access to course related information from that as well.
And
And
again, I'm very sorry to say that if you're not linked to your child at this time, you will, on the mobile app, you're still not going to see anything. So hopefully tomorrow, when we do this update, all of you, if we're lucky, everything will work just wonderfully, and all of you will have access to your children's accounts. But tomorrow might be a better day to try again. And if not, please email the ISD help desk for help.
so you can manage your students, and it's really important to understand that the app notifications are different than the web notifications. So this happens a lot. I get emails from people saying, I'm still getting notifications, and I always have to clarify, where are you getting the notifications from? Because if you're getting email notifications, those are coming from the web app. If you're getting notifications on your device, that's coming from the app. So you have to know where they're coming from, and they are independent of each other.
We have a parent who's noticing that when they log into the mobile app, the calendar is empty, but when they look at the events in the calendar, but they do see the events in the calendar when they log into their laptop.
And that might be, do you have multiple students, and are you looking at one student versus another student?
Just one.
And there's a date range, one's a month view versus one's a week view.
It's showing for a week.
And then in the Canvas website, is it showing for the whole month?
Same thing, the week.
Hmm. Unfortunately, we can't troubleshoot apps. There's our
So
phone
let's
dependent.
so let's wait for a couple days and see once we have updated the Canvas web page and everything is working a little bit more smoothly. We can look at that. But right now, hopefully, we can go through the computer, the laptop version. Okay, so when we're getting settings alerts on the mobile app, that's actually a good feature. I didn't do that the first year I used my mobile app, but let's talk about setting your alerts on the mobile app.
Yeah, so you can actually, by your student, choose what you would like to get grades information about, if you get missing assignments, course announcements. So like I was saying, the announcement setting here, so your alerts are different than the announcements that you get from the website. So if you decide that you don't want to have any of those announcements anymore, you have to turn them off in both spots if you have both of these things. Otherwise, if you are more of an app person, you can definitely set your stuff here. So one of the things I think a lot of parents actually like is that course grade below. So you can set a threshold of like 70%, 75%, 80%, whatever percent you like. And then if your student's grade drops below that, you get an immediate notification. You can also have the announcements that get done here. Notice that it has institution announcements. So here, institution announcements are what I was describing before as like kind of the global announcements. So those are the things that would be coming from the school or from the district. So you would want to maybe turn those on as well from your phone. So just a couple of different places that you can manage what you're getting information wise for your student.
And just a little bit of historical reference for those of you who have older children. When we used to have our grades in Family Access, this is more than 4 years ago, parents were able to set in Family Access notifications to let their kid get an email or information if their child's grade went below a certain level. And in Canvas, you cannot do that on the laptop, on the desktop version. But parents are asking for that feature, and we realized that it was available on the mobile app. So some parents prefer the mobile app because it has this feature that they had gotten used to, that was available historically when we were doing all grades in Family Access. The other one a lot of parents wanted was because they didn't want to, worry too much about checking the email and reading it every day at 6 o'clock. So it also depends on where you're at with your child, right? In sixth grade, parents are looking at the grade every day at 6 o'clock and such. But by the time their child is in high school, they don't really want to do that. They want to give their child more independence and more leeway in knowing what they should be doing and making better choices, but you also still want to keep monitoring your child. And so at that time many parents preferred doing the alert for missing announcement of missing assignments and alerts for if the grade fell below a certain threshold. So honestly, a lot of these features we're talking to you about, it depends on how you interact with your child and how you're going to support your child in the work they're doing in school.
One thing that you will not find lacking is the fact that there's a lot of information that comes from Canvas.
It can
Just,
be overwhelming.
yeah, so it just depends on where you want it from.
So this is an important one because parents were asking earlier, who do I ask about Family Access and changing the profile information, the parent contact, the family one, family two. Honestly, all of that information, you're going to go to the school registrar. If it's about Canvas, especially Canvas for parents, you're going to send that EdTech help email. And if it's Canvas for students, you can start, especially for your student, to ask the classroom teacher. The chances are the teacher will send the student to, I have here the school librarian, but very often if the EdTech person is there, they'll send it to the EdTech person, or they might send it to someone else in the building that is who is very knowledgeable about Canvas. Now, if it's a hardware issue on their laptops or laptop issues, there's an IT person in each building that kind of addresses those kinds of questions. And for other things, um, school apps and so forth, it depends on the teacher. So it's depending on the type of app, they're going to ask the classroom teacher that it's impacting, and then the classroom teacher contacts the person in the district office who's in charge of those apps. So that's just a quick summary of who to go to for help. And if you're not sure, you can come to me and I can help you navigate to the correct person to ask. Uh, can you go to the next slide? We actually made mini videos because this presentation is a little bit long. It goes into a lot of great detail. But if you just want quick tips on just certain parts, we have 2 3 minute videos on different parts of Canvas. And some of it might be the older version of Canvas, but it's still applicable. So just know that we have as many resources as we can to help you better understand this. There is a help link and resource platform for you to look at to get this. If you're going to go to the next slide, Stephanie. And then actually go ahead and I'm going to share my screen right now. Just so that I can go to the next slide. And Stephanie, and am I showing resource and Canvas platform?
Yes, resource and Canvas platform. Mhm.
Okay, and so there are many resources within the Canvas platform, and Canvas, of course, supports multiple universities and colleges and a whole bunch of other districts. So this is their general information site. So if you can get a lot of information, they have a lot of videos in different languages. So note that it has a big hub of information and a wealth of knowledge in trying to navigate and problem solve any issues you might have. But you don't have to just go there and try to figure out the answer. You can email the ISD Ed Tech help to get some answers as needed. Now, this was a lot, especially for some parents that don't have access to Canvas. So hopefully, I will be able to send you the video and you will have access to Canvas by the end of this week. And when that happens, if you still need help, please note that on September 29th, we will be offering a time for parents to come in and kind of get one-on-one or maybe two people per liaison help in navigating and understanding Canvas. So we have broken it down into different 30-minute kind of mini appointments in small groups to get help and solve and figure out how to use Canvas. Because sometimes you just have a question and there's just something small, or you just need a 5 or 10 minute question and answer support session. So please sign up for that and we can help you. And if that day doesn't work, email the school liaison at your school, and I'm sure they'll be able to make time while they're at one of your schools, your child's school, to meet with you and kind of do a little demonstration and help you navigate and solve any questions or issues you might be having. But again, wait to make sure it's not about logging in, that question has been addressed from EdTech, and it's once you have access to this, then we can help you navigate the website. Now, one of the things I also want to make sure I share, because I know that a lot of our families who joined us today are sixth grade families or families new to the district. The district has a program called Securely Home, which provides families the ability to manage their students' laptops, because the students have ISD assigned laptops. And a couple things you need to know is this district has already tried to install many security features on their child's laptop. But in addition to that, there are certain rules and settings you can put using the Securely Home app to make sure you know and you're able to monitor your child's usage. One of the features of it is you get a summary of the websites that your child has gone and visited. Another one is I'm talking about the two main features that I personally like to use, is that you can set their schedule for when they're using the computer. So that's really helpful. And Securely Home, you don't really have to set up you, for me at least, and Stephanie, tell me if you have the answer to this, because I just got an email from Securely Home saying you have access to Securely Home, and then it allowed me to just click on it and set up my account. And
Mhm.
so go through the presentation and it'll show you how to set it up. But there's an app that you can go to, but as long as you are in Family One, you will be able to log in and set up your account. So
It has to be the same email that is in family access for family member one. Mhm.
So I don't know if Securely Home is not set up because of Canvas, but if you're having issues getting into that, again, send an email to the ISD Ed Tech and see why you're not getting that, because it may have something to do with your email. But if you're getting that, to me, my test is, do I get the ISD bulletin? If I'm getting the ISD bulletin, I should be able to get the Securely Home because they're using that same email that's in Family Access. Now, if you're Family 2, I'm not sure about that, but especially for Family 1. So we have created a PowerPoint presentation and a video, and if you complete the feedback form, I can send it to you. But also note that information is also posted for Securely Home on the district website. So if you go to the district website, there's some information on this is the technology habits and safety. There's some information about Securely Home here. But again, for all parents, if you go to programs and services, family partnership, you will see a tab called resources. And under resources, there's a tab called Canvas and Securely. And I've posted all of my resources for Canvas over here. So the Securely Home site is here. Some little mini videos are over here in couple languages. Last year's presentation is over here, and sometime this week, either Wednesday or Friday, I will be updating this page to reflect today's recording and the updated slide deck. So you can look for it in here. But insecurely, you have the slide deck and you have the YouTube video we made regarding this feature. Next, we are also going to talk about family access. So last year in February, we changed the way we look at family access. You probably all noticed that change if your child was in the school district before February of last year. Unfortunately, because of that change in cumulative and family access, we are having a little bit of a trouble getting your Canvas account set up properly. So this is part of that big change. So we will work on it as soon as possible. But I just wanted to let you know what what you can see and what you cannot see in family access. So in the calendar view, you can see the no school days, but you can also see that in Canvas. Under student profile, you're able to see the guardian and parent information, emergency contact information, locker number, and so forth. So if your kid is not using the locker number, no worries. But if every child has been assigned, middle school children have been assigned, they might not be using it, but if they forget the combo, know that it's available there. The test results, your SVA and iReady scores are posted. Cumulative has not been updated since February when we did the big switch over. They're still working on it. But if your child was in the school district, um, not la- before last year, those scores are in there. And it's something that many parents ask about because they want to see the progress their child has made in iReady or an SBA, because your child will be taking the SBA, which is a smarter balanced assessment. It's really a nationwide test just to see how your child is doing and if they're meeting standards or not. So parents sometimes are curious to see how your child's test score in sixth grade, seventh grade, and eighth grade. And also for iReady English language arts part, you can see what your child's score is for that. Attendance is actually one of the only reasons, personally, I use family access besides the report card time, because you may get a call after 10 o'clock saying your child was absent, and you should call and address that absence. You want to make sure that it's not because of a mistake made by the school, and then you can email or keep track. Because if your child has many absences, especially that are unexcused, the school will try to work with you. You'll be asked to have a meeting with the school because we do need to make sure that the students are following procedures and attending school regularly. Also, we're making sure that it's unexcused absences are not a concern, something that the school needs to, support you as a parent or the student in attendance habits. The academic history. Couple parents were asking about GPA. So if you're looking for your child's GPA, you're going to be able to find it for your high school student, and it's going to be under academic history and um, for the GPA. The semester and trimester grades, the GPA will be there for that. But really, if you're looking for the academic history and your current GPA till now, go to academic history and it gives you all of their grades starting in sixth grade if you have a child in seventh grade. Okay, sorry, in high school. Okay, so all of them. So I have a child who's a senior, and all her grades from sixth grade till now are there, and then her GPA for 9th, 10th, and 11th grade, I can easily see. And she also has access to that as she's filling out college applications and such. So that's a good resource for both you and your child if you're filling out any application, if you're doing any summer workshops that require this information. Um, Stephanie, okay, let me finish this and I'll address a couple questions in the chat. So at this time, we are done. So please don't forget to do the feedback form if you're still with us. It helps us better know how to serve parents. Also, it's an easy way for you to get the slide deck and the uh, recording without having to go find it yourself. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out and ask me for help. and just some of the stuff I have at the end. But let me go here and we will answer some questions that are in here. Okay. I have one question. I could log on to Canvas both on the web and the app, but it all showed the orange logo instead of the blue. Now what should I do?
So from the app, or if you're on an Android device, that's probably because it's flipping you over there. But my question would be when you log on from the web, as long as you're seeing your students as an observer, you should be fine.
Okay. Okay, at this time, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.